All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can hear me. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is a retro show, as you probably read or can tell by looking at it. I've done a lot of artwork in my, I guess it's been more like 45, 46 years. And so much of it hasn't been seen publicly. And so I thought, well, I'll have a retro and put those pieces in, which is why I have everything that I have. Some of them have little blurbs underneath them, just to tell you a little bit about my inspiration with that. I used to mostly paint in oil. In fact, I only painted in oil, and every once in a while I would do pastel. And then I think about 10, 12, 15 years ago, I started doing watercolor. I had done just a couple watercolors before then, but I wanted to push myself in watercolor. So, and that's still what I mainly do now. Anyway, thus some of the newer pieces are watercolor. I love working in both the mediums. In fact, after I gave away all my oil paints and my everything I had to do with it, even some of my easels, because I wasn't going to work in oil anymore. Then a few months ago, I ended up buying oil paints again. I still want to play around with oil because it's really fun. Especially I like to do palette knife with oil. I wish I had the painting here that one time I went out to Trout Lake Park, and there was a big tree there that went over the water where you put the boats in. And I wanted to paint that tree. It was a willow, weeping willow, and I wanted to paint it, and I got all set up, and I didn't have my brushes with. So I did have a palette knife, and that was the first time I painted in palette knife. Well, that was one of my best pieces, wouldn't you know? So anyway, I don't want to talk too long because I know that what it's like to stand and listen to somebody talk. But again, thank you very much for coming, and enjoy the show.
Does anybody have any questions? You can also approach. Oh,
Yeah, I have a question. You said that many of these pieces, I think, maybe slightly misquoting you, have never been seen really by the public. Is that satisfying for you to do, just to paint them for, I'm just painting this because I'm going to look at it, or maybe my neighbour will come in and look at it, or is it, for a lot of people, I think, somehow either being able to sell it or somehow share it or have people look at it is the reason to do it. But can you speak to that a bit?
Sure. Yeah, well, I have a lot of art. Not like I used to, but I used to have so much art that I could have 3 shows like this at the same time. And so, you have to pick and choose what it is you're going to put in a show. So a lot of these, some of them have been seen in the Twin Cities, but not out here. And some I didn't want to sell. I mean, I'm finally going to let go of this one. It's just, I've always loved that one. I painted that with Rachel Pettit. Remember her? And so I have a few at home, maybe 8 or 9 that I won't sell. They're mine. I like them a lot. Yeah.
Do you have a formal training before you started painting?
Yeah. my training has been, well, I started out, following on my day off work. I met a lady who taught art, and I lived in the Twin Cities then, and she taught art at the old post office in Stillwater. And then she moved to Forest Lake, and I followed her there. What she would have us do is copy photographs of other people's work. So that's how I started out, and I can't say I learned much about, I didn't learn how to mix paint. And it was at a later date that I was at a show downtown Minneapolis, and I saw some absolutely breathtaking art. Otherwise, I never went to galleries. I'd never been to the museum. And I just fell in love with it, and I asked the owner of the little gallery that I was in, how do you learn to paint like that? And he said, well, you go to Richard Lack's school, which at that time, it was called Atelier Lack, and it was in the upper part in uptown Minneapolis. And I took a couple classes evenings, one evening a week for, I don't know, I think I took 2 classes. And that just kind of got me going. And then, you know, as time went on, of course, I was working full-time, so I couldn't do what I really wanted to do, but I hit a point in my life. My painting career has been very broken up throughout my life, and I started it later in life. And I hit a point where after taking a class, I just had to get back with painting and learning. And so I took a year out of my life and went to, I don't know if you guys know the Twin City area, but I went from Vadnais Heights to Excelsior 5 days a week for 9 months, and that's where I got a lot of the training. And then I went back to work as a custom framer, and then a few years later, after quite a few years later, I ended up working and doing some classes at a school called, it was a private school in Burnsville. It was called Minnesota River School of Fine Art. And that's where I learned really a lot. I love the classical realism style, but my eyes don't work. I have to be looser than that nowadays. You know, I started out really, really tight when I drew and painted, and now I'm looser. Did that answer it?
Thank you.
When did you realize you had talent?
You know, I can remember sitting on the couch at home. I was probably 11 or 12, and drawing, looking out the picture window of the living room. And I didn't think of that as talent. As I started having children at a young age, married, had kids at 18, and so it was, you know, that took up all my time, and I think my creativity came out when I would sew. I did a lot of sewing, I did a lot of decorating, and I did some crafty things. And in fact, one lady copied the walls I painted in my living room and my curtains and everything. And we knew the same people. But yeah, so I had this instructor for a little while. Rick Kashanash is his name. He's a beautiful, beautiful painter and just a wonderful man. And he has a gallery studio in, I don't even know where it is anymore. It's way, way south. And he always said that anyone can paint, anyone can draw. You gotta have the passion for it, the desire for it. And when you find that that's what you think of a lot of the time, you know, that's what you're ruminating on, or maybe in your head you're doing a little drawing or something. When you find that that's going on, then you kind of know where your passion is. Does that answer?
What's on your canvas at home right now? What's next?
You know, I've got this big piece of watercolor and paper. It's about like this. And I can't decide what I want to put on it. Maybe a flamingo dancer or something, you know. But I want something big and splashy, you know, and I know how I'll do it. But I don't know exactly what it's gonna be. I think I've been putting a lot of time and energy into this, and I think now that's what I'll try. I also wanna do I wanna get back and do some more oils. And I started doing some hydrangeas with gold leafing in it, and it just isn't coming together the way I want it to, so I think I'm gonna ditch that. But several of these were that way to me. Didn't like them, you know, and you put them away, and then 3 years later you go, oh, you know what, that's really nice. Why didn't I like it? Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your attention and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yeah.